Muliriddawa. Muliwa. Aliweza kumbuza Kegu Singa, you are excited today. No. I've just been talking to a friend of mine here. You know, he comes to the gym as well. He's a regular. You know, sometimes you compare notes. You're looking good, keep it up, things like that. You motivate each other, you inspire each other. Because gym, let me tell you, those who don't know about gym, the word gym comes from gymnasium, gymnastics. If you read into the Greek history, they were the first ones to hold the Olympics, Olympus, Mount Olympus, and all those kind of things. So, physical fitness or physical prowess was linked to sexuality. Now you don't know. Now you know. Hey, did you know that? Your prowess, fitness, like so. Even if you see the Greek god Olympus, you know, is macho, masculine. And then, of course, you have the feminine and all those kind of things. It's only that we don't pay attention to these things. We always miss out so many things. We always just don't pay attention to things happening around us. And of course, when you hear things, it's always good to pick a leaf. So what are we going to talk about today in our Kegu Storylines, people? Ask me your questions. I always have many questions to answer. Lots of questions, lots of intriguing things about what we are talking about all the time. Yeah, I told you that as long as the storylines continue, we shall continue. We shall continue. I'm looking for something. I'm looking for my glasses. The sun is blaring out. You know, the sun shines differently here. It's not the tropical sunshine. It's so bright. It glares. Do you know what I mean? It glares. And you get this reflection in the eyes. Yeah, you get the reflection in the eyes, and it's very uncomfortable. I can't see my glasses. Where did Kegus put his glasses, people? Where did I put my glasses? I think I've seen them. No. I don't have them. I don't think I do have them. I should have them in here, people. They're usually in a case. But for some reason, bingo. Yeah, these ones, they cost a fortune, people. They cost a big fortune. A fortune is a lot of money. A fortune can be something. Exponentially. Anyway, let's crack on. Now, let's start with my mom today. I'm always proud of my mom. I have always been proud of my mom. She knew it. The reason is simple. Me and her were very close to each other. And in many ways, that comes from my upbringing. I was a very wanted child and a planned child. My dad, let me give you this one, is of the generation of post-independence, Uganda. So they were ushered in from the colonial system of education that really had designed something that would take Uganda forward. Bali bana bato nnyo bayiga ebintu bingi nnyo. They learned a lot. And pretty much the foundation of Uganda was based on that as a template, Katuchite template. The things my dad was doing at that early age were bigger than what he was able even to. That's why at 20, 21, 22, 23, is the chief principal financial auditor of Mango Growers Cooperative Union. Yari mwana muto. Oh, he was very young. But they had been, and that would explain the 1969, there was a conference, the Common Man's Charter. I'm always bringing back these things. I have to repeat them. After the 1966 constitutional crisis, where the constitution was amended, they called it the pigeonhole. Muchimanya echo, the MPs came to parliament to sign documents they hadn't even read. Pigeonhole constitution, which brought in the Common Man's Charter. Uganda was becoming a socialist republic. Chovola ba amini bajja mu 71 n'abikyusa n'abiyita the second republic of Uganda. Biringa biye. Now put my dad in that picture. Oh, let me tell you, you don't know these things. So in 1972, the things my dad had been through had really shaped him up to be. And many of his generation, they had a group which was called the Mango Boys Club. The Mango Boys Club, 1965, the class of 1965. He finishes secondary school. It was a senior school. Having been admitted there on merit, of course, academically, and also his prowess in football. And in fact, my dad's ticket to his life was football. He was a very, very good footballer. Nabagamba nti yazanya omupiira ewankulukuku. That memorable match, he scores a goal against his friend Kabaka King Frederick Mutesa. And then that gave him the spotlight of the day. And he was awarded a scholarship paid by Mengo Buganda Kingdom to study at Bukalasa Agricultural College. I would equate Bukalasa of those days to Makerere University and above, because Makerere University also had a department. My dad was the one of the team that was instrumental in establishing Kyebando Farm, agriculture, under cooperative unions and all the things. Being in Bakola, Kyanda Research Station, Agricultural Research Station, and everything. But of course, you need the brain behind. And he was going to take all those skills to Mango Growers Union as an auditor. 22, 23, 24. To the point that he eventually retires. Because let me tell you how it happened. Because he used to talk about these things. Before independence, Mumanya history of Uganda, how the political parties came about. They arose from the disgruntlement of the African farmers. Nti abayindi bababanga, minzani abayindi bazikwatangamu. There was a lot of fraud during those days that pissed off many of the farmers. Whenever they came to sell their cotton, they came to sell their coffee, they came to sell their cash crops. Remember now they had abolished farming and introduced cash crops. Now, the Uganda Farmers Association was formed in the 40s. Mwemugenda okuva Uganda National Farmers, Uganda National Congress, then the Musazis, then the Uganda, then the UPC, then Kabaka Yeka. So the whole thing, the dynamics of the politics of Uganda is going to be shaped by farmers. So if you didn't know that, now you know it. And the first political party in Uganda was the Uganda National Congress. You know that now? We're going to cover UPC, we're going to cover DP and everything. Of course, things take different directions. But at that time, my dad is young. He's just a student, he's young, probably teenage, but he's seeing a lot of things. And his exposure to mango brought him closer to the table. N'amanya abantu bangi nnyo kakati with the friendship he has with Mr. Patrick Kiwanuka Kasozi, the Kiwanukas, mukwano gw'abangi express chairman, aina connection ku Bulange, ku Mengo, and he was his personal friend. Bava bonna Komamboga Katalemu Komamboga Jagayaza Road. My dad is coming from the other side in Nangabo, Chitagobwa. Nga bavugana egaali yemu to go to school at Mengo. Basoma bonna Mengo. Yes, Uncle Patrick had a bicycle. A raleigh bicycle. Nga yavuga oba n'avuga nga bakumunga baana bato. Kiraba. So amidst all that was going on in their early life, it was shaping them. It was shaping their direction in life. Now, ntandikidde ku maama wange, how they two come into each other's lives, and how my mom would inspire me as well. Let me tell you about my mom. My mom, yayita kyamaanyi nnyo at her early age. The earliest education my mom accesses growing up, her formative years, yasoma mu Islamic schools of Islam, madrasa. You go there, you call it the Quranic studies and everything. They learn the Quran and all that. So by the time she accesses mainstream education, that is when she's in Kampala. Growing up, she's growing up in Bokoloto, Kangurumira. Anybody who knows Kangurumira butambala yoneyo bamanyiyo ekintu kimu nti w'abasiraamu beereere. My grandmother had separated with my grandfather, Jaja Zaid in Sumagide, whom we don't know where he came from. We don't know where our grandfather came from, but that's another story. I have already told you probably he came from Ethiopia. Yeah, because he spoke a Eastern language he didn't understand at some time. And he also wanted all the time to be called Nsumagide. Nsumagide means what? Zaidi said Yabana Nsumagide. Are we together? So when they come to Kampala, my grandmother comes to Kampala with her children, and my mom being almost the youngest. They were about 7. Auntie Sarah, Auntie Joelia, Auntie Razi, Medi, Budada, and my mom. And they were young. They were the Sikh refuge, the Kampala of those days. The Kampala of those days before independence was segregated. Nobody has ever talked about that. Zimbabwe, the kubanga na evidence, baberanga nebibali settlements, jobera. So you couldn't cross one area to another. Then they settled in Nankulabye, Bakuli, and that area was Bayindi Berere, nga bayita na Mukiyindi. Nankulabye, Kasubi, Mukiyindi. Naye nga there's a section called Bakuli. Bakuli is the name of someone. Walingawo bakery, Bakuli. Nga bakolerawo emigaati, Bakuli. Bino ebintu mubinoonyeeko mubitegeere, because people pass there every day. They don't even know the history behind. There used to be a slum. Mujjukira awali Susanna. I'm coming to Susanna Night Club. Susanna, it was a hangout frequented by the who is who in the 60s. It was a nightclub called that Susanna Night Club. So, like Katwe, Mainanga White Nile. Katwe naye waliyo settlement. Abaddugavu baje babeera. Katwe. White Nile, Katwe. Mubuuze bawaswa Birigwa bye baasunirangamu endongo Katwe White Nile. Even Phil Bongo retire, but that is later on in the 70s and the 80s. So, tumanyi bintu bino. Kakati Susanna yabeeranga mu bayita ba gogo girls. Mugamba gundi Sarah Amini yali gogo dancer mu bandi. Ogwo gwali mulembe nagwo. That was a trend in those days. Abaana abobuwala nga bakutanga kudigida gogo dancers. I have the pictures. Gogo dancer. Oba bazinanga chimansulo, oba bazinanga bitya simanyi. Nenga, this is the story. My dad was a frequent fixture in Susanna. Bwe yavanga emmengo ku growers gye yakoleranga nga waakasibira. He's a young man, 21, 22, 23. Bannalulungi bonna mu Kampala nga bwe bakasibira ba Miss. Kati mu 69 waliwo Miss Uganda. Miss Uganda bannalulungi mwe muli ne Cecily Ogwalo. Embozi kati njibawa temugirina. Cecily Ogwalo gwe mulaba oyiwa UPC. Bakwananga abawala abalungi ba minister abalinde who is who. Okiraba? Kakati that is the level of that night club and many other places in town, but those had been frequented by the Europeans or the Asians and a few Africans. So abaddugavu abasinga bonna badigiranga mu bifo ng'ebyo. Now there's a story that went around that there was a very, very big scandal in that club. That club was so famous that even the Kabaka went there once. Frederick Mutesa. Oba yagendanga ne muzeeyi wange, kuba muzeeyi wange yalina access ey'amaanyi naye y'abawala. Ngamba Frederick Mutesa yagendako mu kilabu eyo ne Obote. Nabo bagendangayo nga babavubuka nabo. Now, the story be told is this. Nti my dad jameetinga Auntie Joelia, sister wa mama wange omukulu. Olwo baze mu Kampala bawala. She was around probably 18, around there 19. Nga mwene mwazinira. My family, my mom's elder sister, nga zina gogo mukirabu. Ye tata wange n'amukwana. Bali mu myaka gye gimu n'amwagala. Kati bw'amwagala oba yali abeerawa neera mu Kiyindi omwo mu Nankulabi mwe baali babeera. Muslim kyembagamba nti not a good place. I've jumped quick. Naye ngenda bazaayo. Waliwo scandal taata wange gye yalimu ne minisita omu. Yayagala Nalulungi finalist kamuyite Miss Uganda finalists but it's a panel. That is the interesting thing about these beauty contests. Ntiteba ida asinze bwebagamba the winner, but of course the finalists are all Miss Winner suje Western region we did that tourism the baba waya akantu. So there was a beautiful Miss Uganda finalist who my dad was dating. Kati the minister nainga amwagala awali biwanvu nnyo. There was a very big clash. I have the pictures of that woman. In fact, she came on my dad's wedding. Yali mukazi mulungi nnyo tata wange yamukolera ebintu bingi. Yamuzimbira ennyumba bingi nnyo. But then the question is, how does my dad end up marrying my mom? Kakati mujje come close mbabulire kiri bwe kiti. Now my dad is now in love with about 2-3 women at the same time. Muvubuka muto alina sente empitirivu nnyo, bali mu bintu bingi nnyo, ali mu kuzimba headquarters za Mango Growers awali Victoria University weeri ku Jinja Road. Ekizimbe ekyo yali HQ ya Mango Growers Cooperative Union. Mango Growers ya expanding na tata wange baji dividing into two. Nebako at some point in the east and west. Kati bali mu sente meka. A lot of money. A lot of money. So my dad begins dating my mom's sister. Mama wange nga mutoro. Kati my dad is building 3 houses in Kyebando. Abamanyi homesteading weri. Mugende omulabe homesteading ye Kyebando. Awo na wali waffe. Wona wali waffe. Nyumba zonna eziriwo. Eri mu kikomera yali main house yaffe. Enyumba ezazimba ali 22. Azimbire n'abakazi abalina jjanankumbi suji wayo 9. He was so rich. Kakati mwagala kumanya byambaga embaga ejjetya. Now while those houses were being built, one of them was already finished. Naye tata wange tagisulamu. Tata wange ng'asulawa. He was staying in Kitagobwa. Because the first thing he did, listen, was to build his mom, a house. Kitagobwa. Tata wange weyakulira Kyebando. No, Kitagobwa. Enyumba yali yattaka. You're talking of 1947, 48, yattaka. Bagisereseza ki debe. Kati afunye sente mwana muto azimbira mama ennyumba. Mama we jjajja n'afuka yategula mu 1968-69. That must have been a lot of money. Nyumba nungi nnyo. You have the pictures. I'll show you the pictures. Because byenjogera binaina bituufu naye byenjogera ku by'abantu bato, not people in their 40s or 50s. You give me a 20-year-old today who is building houses. Si sente nti windfall nti abbye sente naye ng'akola. A story mpanvu nnyo how my dad was able to make all that money, because he set up granaries, drying up coffee bingi nnyo byakola. That is the Zinaraba General Coffee Merchants. Later on, all those ideas would lead to the formation of Coffee Marketing Board. Coffee Marketing Board obote gyagabira oyita ojoko nekinyiza ba billionaires. Bamuzeyi baffe bali pissed off. While they were being taken for a ride, bagenda okuteeka sente mutwalo lwa Museveni. Story bweto wetambula. Kakati amaze okuzimbira jjajja ennyumba mwabeera He drives all the way from Kampala, Chitagobwa. He's driving at 1920. He's driving. My dad. Kati. Agenda kwata Auntie Joelia, my mom's sister. Ne Auntie Sarah. Rest in peace. Kyebando bafa plus my mom. Abalete Kyebando babere mu nyumba eyo nga nkalu. So that's the story there. Bawala bato balaba ensi around them changing. Can you imagine? Ngati today nga bemugamba nti apartment. Oyine bamujaji bamuje na mteka mu apartment. Tabirabangako. Buli kimu you be overwhelmed, isn't it? Kati nabe na interest ya manyi mamange. Olumama agenda kuddayo atandika okusoma Namirembe secondary. Mmanyi Namirembe secondary school weri. Guys, ng'essomero likyali baalindaga nga ndi mwana muto Namirembe. But she's young, she's about 15. What happened eventually is told differently. But sister Brenda Batabuka, there was a big fallout. But anyway, the thing is, my mom is pregnant. She's pregnant with me. And I think there was a bit of, what do I call that? Omanyi love weno, ate love yechito. Kati nze njitegeera. At my age of 54, well, my parents even tebasooka 40. That means balaba ebintu bingi nnyo at an early age. That's 1971, 72. Era yali Uncle Patrick Kiwanuka. N'agamba taata wange nti night muwase na mwana muto. But naye yali muto. So that wedding of the year was more of a statement. It involved so many people as stakeholders. Mwalimu ba mayor, mwalimu abemengo, mwalimu president, mwalimu ba bishop, mwalimu bitayo na. As I told the story, you know the story. Biwanvu nyonyo kakati. Imagine the word is inti Patrick omusika wa Kyanda wanted the child, planned the child, banesunga nnyo banzalidde mulago private wing bagadde a private wing mwenali Obote mwe yali naye Obote mmanye bamasase ne bamujanjabira mulago. The private wing in Murago, where Obote was treated following an assassination attempt, is the wing I was born in. Big. My baptism. My baptism. I was baptized. First of all, remember the wedding. The Archbishop, John Lumo, comes. The president comes. Hey! Biwanvu. Kati limelight you na buli omu yamanya kimu mutabani one night. Hey, it must have been very overwhelming for my mom. Very overwhelming. And that's why growing up, teri muntu yena ayamanya nti my mom even had other children. Yatuzaala abaana aba bana by 1981. She's finished. 72 to 81. 2 sisters and 1 brother. Nenga mwana muto. Kakati, if she was 16 in 72, in 81, how old was she? She was about 20 something. It's a fairy tale. A fairy tale. Mfe twakulira mu bulamu mmwe temusobola na butegeera. kati maama wange kati ng'alina okuddayo asome. Ng'alina okuddayo asome according to my dad's decisions. Where else does she go? To Nairobi, ng'alinnya nnyonyi buli weekend n'agenda n'asoma Kenya. Biririddawo. No, biririddawo mumbuulire. Era yasoma. N'asoma secretarial studies. But there was a big void in my mom because she always felt like she had been shortchanged in the beginning of her life. Nze yannemerako nnyo kubyaki ebyokusoma she wanted me to achieve. She wanted me to achieve. Mwe singa mumanyi expectations my mom had about me zali very high and good enough nali mugezi, and she was always proud of that. Literally proud ng'ajja ne ku ssomero n'alaba abasomesa bonna nga abasomesa bayagalanga nnyo maama wange mu primary ba Mr. Kahuma, Mr. Bwenje, Mrs. Miro, baani bonna, Mr. Tendika nga bayetera amagi. We used to bring teachers eggs, milk. We had a farm at home. Buli Monday Mercedes Benz wejja olw'eggulo nga tugenda Mrs. Mwanja, my class teacher yali mu 4M P4M but Mrs. Mwanja nasulako wa Mrs. Mwanja during the war. Ne wa Mr. Kiza mujjukira flats za staff where the staff used to stay. Yeah, I stayed there for some time. Remember there was this curfew thing, it said the roadblock. Karero gudu gayaza nga lubeera blocked. Roadblock ko bitayyo na. Nitubeerako n'ewandege awo mumanyi petrol station ya Shell, Masse Hotel. Twamalawo kumpi emyezi nga 6 tusula mu hotel. Kyebando, that is when they were to bar. They robbed us, they came at night, they wanted to kill my dad. And at the end, the soldiers had a fight, a battle in our compound. 5 of them dead in the compound. In the morning, we woke up, they were dead bodies. Twalaba ebintu bingi nnyo. Kakubuulire. So, bingi. Tutandikiddewa. Mbadde mbagamba kya maama wange nti she was very young and of course her life just changed suddenly to the point that at such an early age everything changed in her life. But of course ngenda bawa chapter what were the consequences of that. Aba family bwe bayingira mu bulamu bwe, we had a constant battle of family until even on the wedding, my dad's wedding, her family didn't attend. Reason because she had changed from being a Muslim to being a Christian, because she had to change. The battle ends in Chibuli. Mwe tamulabye bintu bino. Mwe mubuzeeko muntu ayiza okujjukira ebintu bino. Embaga ya Kyanda. Those days things were very, very strict. My mom had to go and have her name changed, baptized and everything. That's when she becomes Victoria Knight. Those are the Christian names. My mom. Nasanga. And then her names were Mariam Nasanga becomes Victoria Knight Nasanga. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Kyanda, sijui kuba alina ssente. 16 years old, my mom was driving. Yamugulira emmotoka, that son. Ebintu bingi nnyo bye mutamanyi. So 16 years old. She's driving. Emmotoka aliwo. Nga tulina n'embwa awaka. Embwa baagitanga Cindy. We had a mubuyita mutabu Rottweilers. Obwo bw'abazungu obwo obulungi obwo. Nga tukayina awaka nga ndi mwana muto. Imagine my mom was Muslim. This is very interesting. Bingi nnyo by'enjo babuulira bye mulaba kati ne mulowooza nti bipya byali byabeerawo. Abantu abanyumirwa Uganda be baakiyingira post independence. They saw Uganda differently. When we batuwa independence, they don't talk about that timeline between 1962 and 69. It is like today, for example. Abantu abalaba Uganda mu 1986 to 1996 bajja kugamba Uganda ndala. Uganda ya nyuma ya wooma. Okay, bakyusa sente mu 87, remember that. But people didn't care. People okay. But of course the unfortunate thing that's when my dad passed away in 1990, 4 years after Museveni. So Tera Babinji, he was very, very happy that things had changed. That is the vision they had. Bonna. My generation here. The vision. And 98, my mom passes away. Ngamutona 40. So that's how things look like. The Bambos. There's a lot of things about to byebogera ebitagatagata and family ezo bafuna ebizibu mu ebizibu bijjajja bibabuulira byemagambye ebya family ebitutabula nga family. When my dad died, mama wange bamugoba mu nnyumba eyo ku Manda Road batwale buli kimu. The fallout, katuchite fallout. Kiraba? Biwanvu. Ne bazikula taata wange, ebyo nena siba I've never told you that. Ne baje na basuula omulambo. Ne bagusuula mu compound. Musisi. Nti yazaala ku taata wange naye nga at fault. Kiriwo ekiti. My grandmother yajja n'omwana mujja na nyina. My dad is mwana mujja na nyina. That she had had my dad while young at 14, and the child was taken into the Church Missionary Society, like an orphanage, and that's where my dad is growing up, eventually becoming very, very successful, and then he becomes the money, you know. I tell you, it's a very tough one. Are we good? So this story is going to continue. It's an expose. Okay, guys. Kegusa abagala nnyo. Kati mumanyi muntegeera. Sagala abantu badde abayogera nti gayo nakulira Kyebando. Hey, nobawa emboozi ya Kyebando abantu nga bati ewaffe. Nina obbawa emboozi y'Ekyebando. Tabani w'omugagga. Paatu. Omusika wa Kyanda. Ya Rabbi ng'abantu banti olutya. But there was also about respect, man. Biwanvu. Okay. kakati tetukimaze, so the storylines continue.